Justin Tomchuk's interface may just be the crown jewel of online esoterica. This hand-drawn odyssey follows a 100-year-old man and his sidekick, an ominous shape-shifting entity with a clown visage named Mischief, through a journey to escape corporate cybertronics and reclaim lost memories. Following the release of its 24th and final episode that concludes the 4-year-long project, I spoke to Tomchuk about the internet, his process, and his inspirations. One that he cites as Micheal Mann. You can see in interface the director's same pulpy conspiracy licked with a stormy melancholy. I think that's part of what makes the series so compelling to so many people. It has a kind of 2 a.m. ethereal ambience that reminds you of watching violent cartoons way past your bedtime. There's comfort in its hallucinatory weirdness, and nostalgia burning beneath its red sky. It might seem like I'm stretching to connect with an online series whose protagonist is a neon pink spaghetti demon, but this rarity that makes no sense seems to feel ever closer to home with each passing second. Tomchuk is making a case for the artistry behind memes, and shows that auteurism can be found in the weird parts of YouTube. But first, I just wanted to say congratulations on the final part of Interface. How do you feel about it?
I'm kind of excited that it's like it's finished. I can move on to something. It's like this last episode took me like 6 months, just one episode, and like usually it wouldn't take me that long per episode, like maybe a month. But I it's been like something I've been thinking about like nonstop for the past 4 years. So to have it finished, I can kind of relax a little bit, So
yeah, it's a relief. Would you say that the last 6 months haven't been necessarily enjoyable then, or?
Well, I was trying to. So we had the pandemic in Montreal, and we had like a curfew and stuff, and all the restaurants were closed down. You couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't even go to across the border to different provinces, right? Past in 2020. And so I was working through all that and kind of just like taking that as an advantage to work as hard as possible to finish the web series. Because if I can't go anywhere, I might as well get the work finished. And so this past year, things have slowly started opening up, but I was still working on the web series. And so it became a little bit stressful a little bit. It wasn't so bad during the pandemic because it's like, well, everyone's home, but now things are kind of back to normal, and so I was trying to work as hard as possible to finish it, and that's.
I see. The pandemic, in a way, has been kind of somewhat beneficial for, depending on your sort of personality type and what you like to create and enjoy. Some people, and myself included, have kind of enjoyed the solitude and also everyone being in one location.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it's not like I wouldn't say I like enjoyed it, but it kind of made me feel like I don't know, like less like, and I'm trying to cut back my computer usage because as an animator, it's like all I do really, and I don't know, because it happened and everyone's at home working and stuff. It's kind of like, well, it's okay if I'm doing this all day long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally, I get you.
Yeah.
So yeah, 4 years since the first episode came out. Going back to that very first one, I understand that it was almost a vehicle for your music project, Tech System. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been 4 years. I can't really. I think it's 2017. I started the end. So when I started the series, it was kind of like a vehicle to produce music. Well, the web series itself was it's all original music, so I made it for the episodes. But before that, I was kind of using music I previously made, and the idea was to sort of how do I get people to listen to my music? So I'm going to start making animations and using the music in the background. The web series interface was a bit different in the sense that I was making the music at the same time as the episode. So I guess kind of the benefit was that it, like, cross promoted itself. The animations became popular, and then the music caught on a bit because of the animations.
I see. So in those first episodes, you were creating both of them kind of simultaneously, the music and the animation.
Yeah, actually, usually what I would do is I would make the music first, which is
Okay.
kind of strange. So I'd make the music, and then I would like write an episode or animate an episode with the music already made. It kind of like helps me place the timing and stuff and I don't know, mood. The ambience was kind of dictated by whatever music I made at the time.
And how far into the start of the process did that long narrative form in your head? Was it there from the beginning, or was it after a few episodes that you sort of realized, okay, there's a story forming here?
I realized around episode 3 that I needed to kind of have a little bit of a, like, not a villain, but there needed to be some sort of something at stake. And it's fun to watch an animation of just random shit and like two people just, doing stuff, but there needed to be a little bit more complexity to the universe, I guess. And so around episode 3, I started thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do this and have a character that's a little bit more like working behind the scenes, I guess. But I still didn't really I didn't plan out the whole series, And almost every episode, I would finish it and I'd be like, okay, what do I do next? And I kind of spend 3 months, or not 3 months, 3 weeks, just like stressing about it, And then I would think of something, what would logically make sense? I would do this, right? But and when I was going through the web series, now that it's all finished, there's like some branches that I went off into different directions that I feel like had I planned everything out ahead of time, I might have just cut those ones off, because they kind of feel like they diverge a bit from the goal of the series is. But it's kind of, you can't really plan for that while you're making episodes one after the other. About halfway through the series, though, I started to kind of plan how I'm going to finish it. Around episode 12, I was like, I need to have something I know what's going to happen in the end, so it doesn't just feel like this random thing I made up last minute.
I think the way that it does branch in those early episodes is also why it's so intriguing to so many people, though. It feels almost like a kind of organic world building in a way. And it really fleshes out just the entire atmosphere of the show. But it's interesting you say that. So around the episode 12, you started to write more, like plan out each episode more in like a script format, or do the images come first?
I'm not like really good at preparing stuff. So I mean, I didn't like write out like a beat sheet or anything. But just in my head, I was like thinking, well, okay, they're going to go eventually to this location. And then what are they going to see when they're at that location? And it would just be in the back of my mind, really.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and so
sorry, go ahead.
You go ahead. I wasn't really going to say anything.
Okay. I was going to say, so there's no, I mean, I'd be fascinated to know or read a script if it said sort of exterior evening, giant robot baby eats lighthouse, like, to me that's crazy if that is what it looks like.
There's things that I had planned for the ending of the finale, I guess. I mean, if people are watching this and they haven't seen it, I guess there's some spoilers, but I didn't plan for the baby to drink the lighthouse, like a big bottle, until I was like working on the shot where he would go up to the lighthouse, right? And so I thought to myself, like, how is he going to absorb, like, there's energy in the lighthouse, that's the idea, right? And then it kind of just like clicked, like, kind of looks like a big baby bottle, right? Like the lighthouse. And it's even got like the little thing on the top, like the little nipple on the top of
it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, maybe just drink the lighthouse. And then, I mean, it'd be kind of weird, right? It'd be so weird. People kind of weird it out. And then, okay, I'll do it.
I think it's a great moment. And also so many of the images in it, I'm wondering if there's almost a planned like symbology behind them, or if it is just sort of a case of like, oh, fuck it, octopus chef,
Yeah, I mean, there was some stuff I sort of wanted to have happen, planned, like symbology, like mythologically related stuff. But I don't like when I came up with the octopus chef, for instance, I wasn't really like thinking that much. I was just kind of doing things instinctively. And I don't even know what like made me want to animate an octopus. Because I remember when I was doing it, I was like, what the hell? Why did I choose an octopus? Like there's 8 limbs I have to animate at once, right? Uh, and then when I finished it and I put it out there, I realized there was like not a I don't know, it was like a DreamWorks movie or something that had like an octopus chef, like he had a little hat too. I'm like, oh man, did I just like subconsciously rip something off or whatever? But I don't think I've ever seen whatever that movie was, so I kind of but I don't know, like it just I wasn't really like thinking too hard about it. I was just sort of just what I wanted to do it, and so I just drew it, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
So
cool. I think you can almost sense that when you watch it. I think that's what's so endearing about it. It has a very personal, organic growth to each episode, you know. Um, and we wanted to ask about the platform of YouTube and the internet and how that informs your creative process. One of my favorite things about Interface is seeing all the different theories in the comments. I remember it like in the early episodes. I'm not sure if he still does it. There was one commenter who would almost write a kind of creative writing piece based on like Henrik's thoughts and emotions and stuff. And there's so many cool different discussions happening in the comments, either that sort of thing or even just like memes and jokes about Mischief. And I was wondering how much of an effect that community and that platform has on your process.
I really enjoy the like the comments that people write up stuff and their interpretations, and I especially enjoy like the really kind of like the shit posty kind of memes that people make, which I just find them hilarious. They I wouldn't say that it's really informed the direction of the series though. I wouldn't like read a comment and be like, oh yeah, that's a good idea, so I would do go in this way. I think if I'm trying to think about it, I don't think there's like one time where I like read a comment and I was like, well, I should definitely go do this because that makes sense. And this guy said, um, there's a lot of different interpretations about the series, and some other bigger YouTubers have even done like reviews where they kind of have their own thoughts on the series. And there's like one kind of interpretation that I have in my head, right, when I'm making it. But when people come up with something different, I'm not going to correct them, whatever, you know. It's like I just love seeing how other people interpreted it, you know.
Mm.
And but yeah, I don't know. I was one thing I was really surprised with was the amount of fan art like people have made of Mischief and Henrik. Like it's like endless almost. If I type in interface like Mischief on YouTube images, I mean Google Images, I'll see like Mischief drawn in like 30 different styles, you know, or and I tweet them on my Twitter account too. And I've seen all that artwork. It's really like a kind of like a unexpected side effect of making a series like this, you know, something I was not anticipating.
Mm. And so the platform is something that you've enjoyed and embraced.
Definitely. And well, I mean, I don't think I would have been able to make a series like this either because just financially, like, how do you have the money to just spend 4 years working on an animation without a job? You know what I mean? Like, I had to, so, you know, when I started the series, I think I had like 3,000 subscribers around then. It was a very tiny channel, but it quickly grew like by episode 7 almost that I had, you know, enough of a following that they were able to support like, you know, me to do this full time. Because I think when I started doing the series, I wasn't doing it quite full time. It was kind of like in between my freelancing sort of editing work they used to do. And, but now I'm doing this like full time for sure. I'd say even more than full time. You know, I spend almost all day working on this stuff. So.
Mm. So now that interface is over, do you think the next things you work on will be in the YouTube and online space?
Well, I thought about that because, like I was saying, it is like kind of an isolating sort of thing to do. And I get to work with actors and stuff over the internet, but it's all over the internet, and I'm still doing a digital thing. And I've had some conversations with people about maybe pitching something to like a network or whatever. And if that was possible, I would be working with a studio. Then I wouldn't have to be sitting here physically drawing everything myself, which it does kind of feel a little bit more like appealing to me to be, because for me to say, oh, well, I'm just going to sit here and make another web series, it's like, well, that's possibly another 4 or 5 years of me just not leaving my apartments. So I don't know. Like for now, I haven't really thought too much about it. I'm just gonna make some short, fun animations and not commit to some massive project for a while. And then I feel like maybe in a year, I'll have a better idea of what I want to do after this.
I see. And well, you say you haven't really thought about it, but I was wondering if there was something. Interface feels very connected to the internet space, even in its images almost. Like you say, you like the sort of shit posting and memes about it. Hopefully this doesn't sound reductive, but the series itself almost feels like a meme that's grown legs and kind of, got grown a narrative almost. And I was wondering if your other creative work outside of interface, is there a through line that you can match with it? Does it have the same sort of atmosphere and obscurity, or is interface sort of uniquely, like even you can see like, oh, that's a bit out there?
I feel like it is just like it's distinctively, like you were saying, it feels like something that was created for the internet. And because of the nature of its being low resolution and stuff too, and some of the characters that come across as like meme, like something you would see in a meme almost, like Mischief kind of has like a strange looking face that you might see in a meme, and I feel like if I were to work on something else, it doesn't necessarily have to be the same style. I feel at this point, after making 24 episodes, I've kind of become a little bit more confident in my abilities to maintain like the mood and atmosphere of the series without it having to rely on kind of like an internet trope, which is, lo-fi animation stuff. Another one of the reasons why I did that though was because it just technically was a lot easier for me to animate at such a low resolution. Because I was thinking about this even now. I'm still thinking, if I try to do it like a 4K animation, whatever, the computational resources required just go up like crazy, like the master file for interface, which is a 2-hour movie, is I think it's like 13 gigabytes.
Wow.
But if it was, well, if I imagine if all those files were the original files were in 4K, then I don't know how many terabytes of computers I'd have to be dealing. It's just a headache to think about, So I might just keep it low res and kind of like in this aesthetic if I'm staying on YouTube, If there was an opportunity in the future, who knows what, and I might decide to change things stylistically a bit.
Yeah, got you. I love the visual references throughout interface to like different modern art, especially in that second last episode. I think it almost feels like you're kind of rushing through like different paintings. And I was wondering if you could speak a bit about your sort of like visual influences, either through art or through film as well.
Well, one of my favorite film director is Micheal Mann, and he actually does the same thing in his movies. So you'll watch Heat, for instance, and he featured one of the same painters that I featured in my series, which is Alex Colville, who was a painter from Nova Scotia, which is where I'm from originally. And so the thing about is he would frame a shot, whatever, and it would be like the same framing, same angle, same lighting almost as the painting. And I thought it would be cool to kind of incorporate something like that into my animations, you know? And, but I took it a little bit further. It almost feels like you're stepping into the painting itself rather than being kind of like compositionally inspired by a painting, you know? And the reason why I decided to do that was because I feel like paintings that are made throughout history kind of represent, they're kind of like bookmarks of like a chapter in the past, like history. And when you read about the paintings and some of the artists' intents, like Salvador Dali and the geopolitical, I forget what the name of the painting is, but it's the painting where there's a man coming out of the earth, and it's he's going into the atmosphere, and there's people witnessing it, and the earth's like cracked like an egg. So that was one I featured prominently in Interface, and it represents kind of like the Industrial Revolution and how it's going to change the face of humanity and like the world, you know. It's like we broke through. The earth is kind of cracked now. There's no going back. And this new man, whatever that came out of it, is like one that has been able to manipulate the materials that are around him in a way that for his own purposes, because that was around the time when people were making chemicals like crazy, like new chemicals and new molecules, like from scientific perspective, and the atom bomb was being created, and it was like a revolution in science. And so when I have that in my web series, it happened at the same time where there was a wormhole or whatever, kind of like split, right? And all these mythical creatures were able to enter the world of the web series. It's kind of like a metaphor for the same thing that happened. You know, we don't have like monsters, obviously, in our real life, but we have new technology and we have all these new chemicals. We have new science and new philosophy that were just spurred out of the middle of the 20th century. And so I felt like that was a perfect painting to include for that moment of time in the web series. And so each painting that I include, that one was metaphorically like one of the strongest ones. Not all of them I have like this great grandiose idea about, but some of them I just like the paintings, you know, and I just want to include it in the artwork. But there's another one that I included, which was Alex Colville's Horse and Train, which was a train coming down from the side, and then a horse running towards it full speed, like on the tracks, not running towards the sides or whatever. And I thought maybe it's sort of like a metaphor for Henrik almost, you know. He's like running towards death on purpose, but there's something preventing it from happening and in my animation, what I do is I have the horse kind of just veer to the side right at the last moment. And there's a few paintings like that I try to include. So
yeah, totally. Though like you say, you do sort of step into it and see it from a different perspective, or watch it in motion, which obviously you can't watch when you're seeing the painting. It's interesting what you talked about the industrialization and the advancement of science. There's such a big theme of that throughout Interface. And what I find most interesting about it is almost how the antagonist, Greetings Robotics, seem to sort of capitalize on the scientific advancement or boxing in of like more human themes. Like the series seems to take very literally the idea of like the ghost in the shell, as in there's almost genuine ghosts in it that sort of emerge and are taken into these new forms. And I was wondering if you could speak a bit about is that something that you see happening in real life, or is this a sort of science fiction concept that you just decided to run with?
Well, I think metaphorically, like on the internet, what we're seeing today is a cleansing of the internet. So there's YouTubers out there that are being demonetized, or There's episodes of podcasts that are just vanishing in the thin air, like we've all seen with, think of what you will of Joe Rogan. There's interesting characters that he's interviewed in the past. They may be factually incorrect about whatever they say. However, is it right that, when they moved them over to Spotify, they just deleted them all? I think there's like 18 episodes just gone. And, it's the internet is being, in Canada, we got this new bill that they're trying to pass where they're trying to regulate your speech. There's things that are illegal on the internet that need to be cleaned up for sure. I'm not saying that the internet should just be some place where everyone can do whatever the hell they want, but it's almost getting to a point where you can't have an opinion on something that, and the opinions aren't necessarily, who's to say how dangerous they are is what I'm saying and so we're seeing that in real time right now, and especially the past couple of years. And it just happened to happen while I was making the web series. That's kind of how I see the Greetings Robotics character, while he's cleaning up the earth of all these ideas and these kind of like these loose ends that don't fit the grand narrative, and he's containing them for himself. There's like elements of that too. And one of the other things I have is that I kind of, when I was thinking about writing this stuff, is Henrik. The reason, like, he doesn't speak, for instance, and it's not necessarily because he's just mute or doesn't want to speak, but he kind of represents more than himself, which is he represents people who are unchanging in their ways of thinking, and like people from the past generation who are like dead set, stuck in their ways. Things are never going to change. And so there's kind of like a conflict of between him and the people in control who are trying to control the narrative. I guess there's a lot of things going on. I'm kind of rambling right now, but those are some of the ideas I had when it came to Greetings Robotics, like kind of cleansing the earth of all of these mystical beings. Because in my mind, the mystical beings aren't like monsters. They're kind of metaphors for different things and ideas. That's how I see it.
Interesting. Actually, it's funny you speak on that. Last night, I was scrolling through Instagram, and a lot of creators I follow had been their like ability to make online shops had been revoked for various community guidelines that they'd presumably broken. So it's not even just opinions that are being stifled. It's also people's creative releases and their livelihoods as well.
Yeah, Visa and MasterCard, they clamp down. If they don't want you, then they'll just cut you off. And how else are you going to pay for things? Like that everyone uses Visa and MasterCard, right?
Totally. It's scary time. And yeah. I think how appropriate it is that interface is this kind of like strange, esoteric online series that is also almost about kind of the freedom of ideas. Speaking of Henrik not being able to move past that and being stuck in his old ways, does that mean you have an almost pessimistic outlook on the future of content on the internet in general?
I personally believe that the governments aren't going to be able to control as much of the internet as they think they want to. As we are seeing with like Bitcoin and stuff, that's like something that just came out of nowhere, and they're scrambling because like people are realizing, hey, we don't have to have the like money that inflates, and so these governments are like banning it. China banned it, I think, and they're trying to make their own cryptocurrency. So if there's like an internet that becomes over censored or over sterilized, I think someone's going to create something else that is going to fill that void that wasn't there, because it's kind of like you're trying to I don't know. It's like a barrel that's been shot with like a machine gun, I guess, and there's all the water's coming out, and they're trying to like plug holes in it or whatever, or they're trying to like that's not a good example, but you know, like when you're like in a boat and it's like sinking and you're just trying to bail the water out, they're never going to be able to completely control something like a digital technology because I think there's always going to be a new revolution that kind of usurps them.
Mm. Mm.
So I mean, I'm pessimistic about it. I guess I'm just kind of observant of it. You know?
Yeah, I get you. I mean, I think I think I agree, but also on the point of corporations controlling this stuff and the government controlling this stuff, I think there's almost like an interesting dissolution of boundaries happening, where like you have companies like Netflix, which are obviously huge, and in a way they're kind of giving creators and opportunities to do more, have a slightly more freedom, I'd say, within their like sort of creative control. I mean, you just put out a film on the internet for free, basically, you know, over the course of 4 years. So I think there's this really interesting the boundaries of art seem to be kind of collapsing into this like sort of one central just content or whatever you might want to call it.
Yeah, it's weird to think about how like in the grand scheme of things, people are still watching my series on the same medium that they watch $1 million movie on Netflix. It's the same thing. It's streaming on the internet. And so why does it, you know, why is one more significant than the other? Really, it's just because of the brand name, because you pay access for, you know, Netflix maybe, or and in some ways I'm a little bit kind of sad almost that it seems like, well, people still go to movies and stuff and people see things in theaters, but it seems less and less important than it used to be, especially with, you know, the pandemic, and they didn't even have theaters open. These $1 million movies are being premiered on the internet, and it sort of levels the playing field a lot, in my opinion, because if everything's being watched on the same medium, then there's not really any gatekeeping involved. You know what I'm saying? Like, if people want to see it, they're gonna go on the YouTube and watch it, right? And if anything, I feel like movies that are not behind a paywall have a better chance of actually becoming part of the cultural zeitgeist because there's more people seeing them and it's freer. It's and people who can't afford Netflix and stuff, but they can watch it for free, you know, in third world countries and stuff. You know, there's some movies that came out on like HBO Max, whatever, and it's like, I'm never going to see that because I don't have HBO Max. I don't want to subscribe to like 5 different streaming services, right? But if you're on the one that's free, then everyone can see it, you know. And fortunately for me, I've been able to at least you know, have some incomes from doing it while it being a free movie, you know. I don't know. It's something. So it's like so new. I don't really have a real opinion on it. It's just something. I didn't really know how to think about this stuff. This stuff kind of. I think about it sometimes. How the internet has sort of made everything kind of come out of the same spot. I don't really know how to feel about it. You know.
Yeah. I know you sometimes cite David Firth as an influence on your creations. I think it's interesting to think back to. I must have been in middle school when I first watched Salad Fingers, and now I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that was art. That was just like, it just so happened to be like terrifying and weird and on the weird side of YouTube, you know. So maybe you are right. Maybe the next. You know, you think what would have happened if Kubrick was posting his films on YouTube for free? Maybe people would have just found them and they would have, you know, entered the public consciousness through that way.
If I feel like it's complicated because if Kubrick would have released those films today and on the internet for free, I don't know if they would have had the same impact. It's because I think he was able to capitalize on the fact that there was no internet at the time and there was a limited amount of slots to make films and have them screened and stuff. And of course, he made the best ones, and so a lot of people would see them. But if you were to have to compete in the same environment today with YouTube, I'm probably, I don't know, would people, I don't know, would people, I think people would still appreciate them. I mean, there's like, this, for instance, there's still movies that are making huge waves, like the Squid Games and stuff, for example. So I've been watching that on Netflix, and apparently it's massive. Like everyone in the world is watching it right now. Like, I feel like a lot of movies are successful because of the time and place, especially the time in which they are released. And so it's kind of hard to compare because the times have changed. And I feel like movies are successful because they're reflective of the current period of time in which they were released.
Mm.
And that is partially what makes them resonate with people so much, and they become classics because they resonated with people so much at that time. Yeah.
Could you ever see Interface playing in a cinema?
Well, I'm trying to submit it to some film festivals, and I don't think they're going to get in because almost all film festivals have these requirements where they can't be previously screened on the internet. And there's a few that sort of make exceptions. And then there's these web fests, but web fests don't have the same prestige, and they're not the same. I don't know. They're not really, don't really catch on because honestly, and web fest, it's like something that's already on the internet. You just go to the internet to see it from the primary source of it, right? A lot of film festivals the past couple of years had a transition to online film festivals, and I know they're putting in as much effort as possible, and they're doing the best that they can with these things. But it's kind of like, oh, hey, this movie that's in a film festival got 71 views, and it's like, what is the point of it? You know what I mean? It's on YouTube. You're gonna get more people to see this stuff. What exactly is the festival providing?
Yeah. I get you. I just think it would be fascinating to kind of release this oddity on like the general public. Imagine it just playing on like a sort of matinee showing, whatever cinema, and people walking in just because buying a ticket and then seeing Interface. I think it's quite, considering we were talking about all these boundaries shutting down, what would happen if you just put in a very typically boundaried space,
Yeah, it was true actually. And I think the film festivals may be more open to like having private showings, if I were to organize something, because I don't know, like the past couple of years, they were like, there's like no movies that came out, right? And well, I guess the movies are coming back in now though, so we'll see. I don't know. I do agree that'd be fun to see it in theaters though.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's all I had to ask you, but thank you very much for the conversation.
Hey, Caleb, I appreciate it.